slopey, things will just go down. How can they be flooding in Baguio City?
No, it's true that the area, for example, it's true that it's mountainous, but there are some areas that are a little flattened.
May
you know?
mga
May mga pockets.
Okay.
And the same thing happens, you know. Because actually it's interesting if you're in Baguio there, and then you would think that bakit babahain ito, no?
Yes.
But then the
Dapat
problem there is
pababa
that the areas, the waterways, no, are limited. You know, you have what we call discharge, is the amount of volume per time. Pag masyado siyang malaki, even that waterway will go over, and then aapaw yan.
Right.
So, ang problema sa Baguio, pwede kang mabaha, pero pwede ka rin ma-landslide. So,
Right.
you're in both.
Double whammy.
Double whammy.
Yeah.
Oh,
With
double
that
whammy.
amount.
Mga maliliit na cracks. But only a trained eye can see those.
Right.
No? But the key thing for you, if, for example, if I were living there, is this. If I see that the amount of water is high, I will leave my place and go to a place na hindi soil or maybe solid rock, you know. So yun yung pwedeng gawin, no. Otherwise, but you know we don't have a lot of solid rock materials.
We were talking earlier, sir, about, you know, after Ondoy there were
Estero,
right,
na mga garbage, no? That's true, in part. I mean, that can't be denied. I mean, you know, if you clean the esteros, then you would have. But then one thing to be considered too is, again, the amount of the volume of water that you're dealing with, you know. And in this specific case, the amount of water was just too big. Now, in that problem, it will also highlight the other difficulties. For example, yung manggahan. So, kasi marami kang tubig, what was not noticed before will be highlighted. Okay. So, but I think it's premature to, or the data are lacking. I mean, I have to see the numbers to be able to be convinced. You know? See, the problem, kasi if you put the wrong cost on the problems, then you could be spending your meager resources on something na iba pala yung, for example, there's nothing you can do about, you know. Why will you, in a case like this, maybe the best way is just to escape first. Or pag ang imap mo na talagang mababa ka, tumakas ka o magpagawa ka ng 5-story building made of concrete or whatever. You know? So ganun ang klase. No? So the approach to the problem has to be very, very specific. But then we do not neglect the large scale observations. No?
Earlier, you did give us some advice on for people how to buy homes and what to look for. Let's bring it to a wider perspective. Talking about the topography of Metro Manila, you talked about the topography a bit of northern Luzon and central Luzon. Of Metro Manila, we're pretty much aware now that that eastern part is really lower. You know, the Taguig area, the Rizal area, Marikina. Is it not really ideal to really build too many residential areas there because of the way it's really lower and susceptible to so much rain?
All right, let me explain first. The Marikina Valley, it's called the Marikina Valley, okay? The Marikina Valley po, ganyan yan, dahil it's sandwiched between two faults. Tapos nahulog siya. Nahulog siya dahil mababa siya. So all of the main rivers flow through there. So if you ask me as a geologist, will I buy property in the Marikina Valley? Maybe not.
And would you say that's maybe why it's also kind of the last in the line of developments? I mean, land was developed residentially in higher areas. I mean, parang nahuli, no? Parang, was it an afterthought of there's nothing else to build, so let's build here? I mean, you're seeing developments now in the eastern part and deeper in Pasig and even in Taguig, where it was never built on before.
But there are actually areas east of Marikina that are high. You know, yung after Masinag, sa Antipolo. I mean, all of those are buildable, you know. Yung valley lang talaga ang mahirap kasi that valley is like the funnel of all of the waters that will be coming in. Now, as long as the water rate is controllable, lalabas naman siya. But it will be, you know, once you have very, very big volume events, it will be difficult to control the water. So, for an intelligent buyer, you know, would you want to buy land in? Kasi these are part of information, I think, that people should consider. You know, I'm a little disappointed, for example, even among rich people, when they buy a property, they listen more to feng shui than to geologists.
Okay, I was about to say.
Yeah, I mean, for example, you know, it's not just the flooding, it's not just the landslide, even faults.
Yeah.
For example, PVOX has done a wonderful service of delineating where the Marikina Valley Fault runs through. But when there are, for example, they are still building on top of faults, even in the Fort Bonifacio area in Ortigas, you know.
Amidst that fault
Even
line warning.
even the fault line, or people don't want to spend. Kasi one thing I discovered, people don't want to pay for bad news, you know. And many times, if you consult a geologist, he'll tell you, meron pong fault dito.
Yeah.
Now, if you're thinking a little bit, you're going to invest 5 million on a property. Why don't you spend 50,000 to ask a geologist, meron bang fault o wala? Or may babahain ba ako? Hindi, ganun ba?
Okay.
Kasi, pag magbabayad ka ng 200,000 sa feng shui, I mean, I don't want to denigrate feng shui, but, you know, I don't know the scientific base of feng shui, but
built on top of a major fault line. Any relation to flood-prone areas and those who may be hit by earthquakes?
All right, flood-prone area. Okay, one reason why the areas are actually low is that because, as I said, like the Marikina Valley, there's San Luis two faults.
Okay.
So if you're right on the boundary of the highland and then the lowland, you are probably very close to the fault. Okay? In Cabanatuan, it's 100 kilometers away from here.
Right.
And how many buildings have been built since 1968? And I am really nervous that there's some very tall buildings, some areas close to the rivers, which are foundation on place. I mean, you know, things like this. Because they will be severely tested when an earthquake happens. Will an earthquake happen? Yes. We don't know when it will happen, but it will happen because we are in that, we have the Marikina Valley Fault, we have many things. We have earthquake generators close to us.
Should structures be damaged because of this, the flooding, the tremendous flooding that we experienced in the past week?
One portion of the bridge went down.
That study that you said that the PVOX made about fault lines, major fault lines, is that available online?
Yes, I'm not sure if it's online, but if, for example, if people want to buy property, you know, they can go to PVOX here in near UP, and they have a map. There's a guy there always who will tell you, nasaan yung property ninyo, nasaan yung fault line. But even the data of PVOX on the faults are not totally complete kasi may mga sanga-sanga kung minsan yan eh.
Okay. Yung fault.
Yung mga faults, no? May major line ka tapos may mga sanga-sanga, mga small branches, and ayaw mo pupunta sa ano. But I tell you, there are some interesting structures that are on the fault.
Right. While we're talking about real estate and, you know, looking ahead, if I may throw this out there to you, the South is being heavily developed now. The southern parts of Metro Manila. You talk about Laguna,
that's right.
and Cavite. What do you foresee with that area? Are there any problems that they may encounter?
Cavite, it's low level, so probably the main concern in the south, near the areas, again, is subsidence, you know, and then, so of course, flooding.
What about the Santa Rosa area?
Yeah, the same thing, because it's Santa Rosa. Mababa din sila, no? So, well, by the way, we haven't talked about volcanic eruptions. Taal is an active volcano, and that's another important
issue.
Because Tagaytay is being well developed.
Maybe the attraction that's trying
of course, when you're there, the view is nice.
Investors.
You know, when the view is nice because you're on top of a hill, but you're potentially threatened by a landslide, you know. So, these are you know. Give and take when you build on properties, you know. As I said, talking to a geologist, since we talk about bad news, people don't want to listen to us.
I know, I can imagine.
But I like listening to you. This is really interesting.
We're learning that.
Should be.
Last question before I let you go: How are local governments hiring geologists? I mean, do they have geologists within the engineering departments?
Wala nga po eh. In fact, there was something on the law na gumawa ng dapat yung provincial, municipal geologist, especially in areas that critical.
Working in tandem with the structural engineers.
The structural engineer, the civil engineers can build very strong structures, but they don't see the big.
Would they be mentioning that? Syempre, they'll try to gloss over that.
There are some developers who are socially responsible, but there are some who are not. Okay, meaning I've told some of them, you know. I will not mention one. For example, there's one hospital that's built on a fault, and we told the owners that you're
fully aware.
Yeah, and they were aware. And to my mind, if, you know, and they continue to do that, that's in their conscience.